Admiral Park stood silently on the observation deck, watching the massive Imperial vessels enter Earth's orbit. The sleek, metallic ships dwarfed anything humans had ever built, their hulls gleaming under Earth's sun. "They're requesting to speak with Earth's unified leadership," Lieutenant Kim reported, her voice steady despite the tension. "Tell them we'll meet," Park replied. "And inform President Lee immediately." Within hours, Earth's Leadership Council gathered in Seoul. The Imperial Ambassador Taeho arrived with an entourage of 8-foot-tall humanoids, their skin a pale blue. He spoke with diplomatic pleasantries, but his eyes revealed calculating assessment. "The Galactic Empire welcomes Earth into our protection," Taeho announced. "Your resources and labor will serve the greater galactic community. In exchange, you'll receive appropriate technological advancements." Dr. June slipped out of the meeting early. In her laboratory beneath the city, she studied readings from the Imperial ships. Something about their propulsion systems interacted strangely with Earth's magnetic field. She had noticed this anomaly weeks ago when their scout ships first appeared at the edge of the solar system. "Run the simulation again," she told her assistant Niho. A holographic display showed Earth's natural electromagnetic field rippling as the Imperial ships passed through it. Each ship created a unique disturbance pattern like a fingerprint in the planet's energy field. "There's something here," she whispered. "Something they don't know about." Meanwhile, President Lee sat alone in his office, replaying Ambassador Taeho's words. The translation had been perfect, but the meaning was clear. Earth wasn't being invited to join the Empire, it was being claimed. He called an emergency meeting of the World Security Council. "They don't see us as equals," he explained to the assembled leaders. "They see us as a resource to be harvested." "But their technology is centuries beyond ours," said the European representative. "We cannot hope to resist." "Not with conventional weapons," agreed President Lee. "But Dr. June has made a discovery." Dr. June entered and displayed her findings. "Earth's electromagnetic field has properties I've never seen documented in any scientific literature. It's unique, and the Empire's ships interact with it in ways they don't seem to understand." She showed them simulations of how Earth's field could be amplified and focused. "If we can harness it, we might have a defense mechanism. Something they won't expect." "How long would it take to develop?" asked the African Union president. "With global cooperation and resources? 6 months. Maybe less." "We may not have 6 months," countered Admiral Park. "Their main fleet is likely already on its way." 2 days later, Ambassador Taeho presented the formal terms of Earth's integration into the Empire. The demands were clear. Earth would provide raw materials and labor in exchange for limited technology transfers. Earth governments would remain in place but answer to imperial governors. President Lee's response was diplomatic but vague. He requested time for Earth's nations to consider the proposal, playing on the Empire's apparent belief that humans were divided and indecisive. Ambassador Taeho granted them 30 days. That night, the United Earth Coalition was secretly formed. For the first time in history, all nations pooled their scientific and military resources toward a single goal: survival. Dr. June led a global team of scientists working around the clock. They built massive generators at strategic points around the planet, designed to amplify and focus Earth's electromagnetic field. Admiral Park supervised the creation of a unified defense force, combining the best soldiers and equipment from every nation. 28 days later, Dr. June stood before the coalition leadership. "It's ready," she announced. "We call it the Gate Shield. If it works as designed, it will create an impenetrable barrier around the planet." "And if it doesn't?" asked President Lee. "Then nothing changes. We face an enemy we cannot defeat through conventional means." As they spoke, Imperial sensors detected a massive fleet approaching Earth's solar system. The colonization force had arrived ahead of schedule. Ambassador Taeho's message was blunt: "Your time for consideration has ended. Prepare for the arrival of the Imperial colonization fleet." President Lee addressed a worldwide broadcast. "Today, humanity faces its greatest challenge. We stand united for the first time in our history. Whatever happens, we face it together. Dr. June's team made final adjustments to the global generator network. Admiral Park positioned Earth's combined military forces strategically around the planet. And in high orbit, the first wave of Imperial ships appeared, weapons armed and ready to ensure Earth's compliance. The battle for humanity's future was about to begin. 6 months had passed since the Empire discovered Earth. During that time, Dr. June barely slept, working with scientists from around the world to perfect the gate shield technology. Now the moment of truth had arrived. The Imperial colonization fleet appeared in Earth's orbit, 500 ships strong. They formed a perfect attack pattern, their massive hulls blocking out the stars. In his command center beneath Mount Hala, General Sung monitored the approach. Screens showed the Imperial vessels descending toward major cities across the planet. Their weapons systems glowed as they powered up. "They're not even bothering to talk this time," Lieutenant Kim noted. "They expect us to surrender without a fight," General Sung replied. He opened a secure channel. "All stations report." One by one, the 17 shield generator stations around the world confirmed readiness. Each was buried deep underground, protected by the best defenses Earth could provide. "Dr. June, are we ready?" General Sung asked. On the main screen, Dr. June nodded from her control room. Dark circles under her eyes showed her exhaustion, but her voice was steady. "The system is calibrated and ready." General Sung took a deep breath. "Inform President Lee." "It's time." President Lee's face appeared on a separate screen. He looked at the images of Imperial ships positioning themselves over Earth's major cities. "They leave us no choice. Activate gate shield." General Sung gave the command. "Initiate shield generation. Full power." Dr. June's fingers flew across her console. The massive generators buried at strategic points around the planet hummed to life. They began channeling Earth's unique electromagnetic field, amplifying and shaping it into a barrier that would encompass the entire planet. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then the readings started to climb. Field strength at 30%, 50%. Dr. June reported. On radar, they could see the first wave of Imperial landing craft breaking away from the main fleet, descending rapidly toward Earth's surface. 70%, 90%. "They're almost through our atmosphere," General Sung warned. "Full power achieved," Dr. June announced. A shimmering dome of energy expanded outward from each generator site, merging together to form a continuous barrier around the planet. It was nearly invisible except where it distorted the light slightly, like heat waves rising from hot pavement. The Imperial landing craft slammed into the shield at full speed. They hadn't expected resistance, certainly not an invisible wall. 30 vessels disintegrated on impact, exploding into bright fireballs that briefly outlined the curve of Earth's new protective barrier. In the command center, a cheer erupted. "It works!" Dr. June whispered, tears in her eyes. The Imperial fleet immediately halted its advance. For several minutes, no movement was detected. Then, a massive Imperial destroyer fired its main weapon at the shield. The energy beam struck the barrier and spread across it like water hitting glass, causing the shield to glow briefly before the energy dissipated harmlessly. "Shield holding at 97% capacity," Dr. June reported. 3 more destroyers fired simultaneously. Again, the shield absorbed and dispersed the energy. "Shield still at 94%, Dr. June said. "The attacks are actually helping us. The energy is being absorbed and redistributed to strengthen the barrier." President Lee's expression remained serious. "They won't give up easily. Prepare Phase 2. Communications officers reported an incoming transmission from the Imperial fleet. Ambassador Tejo's face appeared on screen, his normally composed features contorted with rage. "This defiance is futile," he shouted. "Lower your defenses immediately or face complete annihilation." President Lee stepped forward. "We decline. Earth is not yours to take. You primitive fools. You cannot hope to stand against the might of the Empire." To demonstrate our seriousness, President Lee nodded to Dr. June. She activated a secondary system they had developed. A focused pulse of electromagnetic energy shot outward through the shield, targeted precisely at the Empire's flagship. The pulse passed through the massive vessel, disabling its systems but leaving its structure intact. The flagship's lights flickered and died as it drifted helplessly. Ambassador Tejo's transmission cut off mid-threat. "What did we just do?" General Sung asked. "We disrupted their power systems without harming the crew," Dr. June explained. "They'll be able to restore basic functions in a few hours, but their weapons and propulsion will be offline for days." President Lee addressed the command center. "Today we've shown the Empire that Earth will not be conquered. But this is only the beginning. They will regroup and try again with different tactics." General Sung nodded. "At least now we have a shield." "And time," Dr. June added. "Time to develop more ways to fight back." Outside, the Imperial fleet had pulled back to a higher orbit, maintaining distance from Earth's unexpected defense. For the first time in the Empire's long history of expansion, a target planet had successfully said no. Fleet Commander Do Hyun stood before the Imperial Council, his posture rigid despite his exhaustion. 3 months of failed attempts to breach Earth's shield had taken their toll. The Grand Chamber was silent as the Emperor's representatives waited for his report. "We have tried everything," Do Hyun said. "Energy weapons cannot penetrate the barrier. Physical objects are destroyed on impact. Our best cloaking technology is useless. The shield seems to detect any matter or energy that approaches." High Minister Jean slammed his fist on the table. "Impossible. They are primitives. Primitives who have turned their entire planet into a fortress," Do Hyun countered. "And our intelligence reports suggest they've now extended the shield to cover their lunar colonies." The council chamber erupted in angry voices. The Empire had never faced such resistance. For thousands of years, they had expanded across the galaxy, conquering or absorbing every civilization they encountered. Earth was supposed to be a simple acquisition, a resource-rich planet with a technologically inferior species. "What about the planetary bombardment?" asked another minister. "We deployed our heaviest weapons," Do Hyun replied. "The shield absorbed everything. In fact, our sensors indicate the attacks actually strengthened their barrier." High Minister Jin's face darkened. "And our attempts to find the shield generators?" "Failed. We believe they are located deep underground. We cannot target what we cannot see." On Earth, the mood was cautiously optimistic. In a secured room beneath Seoul, scientist Miho led the counterintelligence team that had successfully infiltrated Imperial communications. "They're bringing in their top research division," he informed President Lee and the coalition leadership. "But they still don't understand that the shield works because of Earth's unique electromagnetic properties. Can they eventually figure it out?" President Lee asked. Dr. June shook her head. "Even if they understand the theory, they can't replicate it elsewhere. Earth's magnetic field is unique, shaped by our iron core, atmospheric composition, and solar interaction. It's like a fingerprint." Admiral Park pointed to a holographic display showing the Imperial fleet's positions. "They've established a blockade. They can't get in, but they're trying to ensure we can't get out." "Which brings us to the next phase," President Lee said. "Dr. June, tell them about the ships." Dr. June smiled for the first time in weeks. "We've developed vessels with hulls specially calibrated to pass through our own shield. The shield sees them as part of itself." "How many are ready?" asked Admiral Park. 5 ships, each capable of carrying 30 personnel. Not large, but enough for targeted operations." Meanwhile, aboard the Imperial command ship, the research team had arrived. Chief Scientist Hannah examined the Earthshield data, her interest genuinely piqued despite the military situation. "Fascinating," she murmured. "I've never seen anything like it." Fleet Commander Do Hyun was less impressed. "Can you disable it?" "Not immediately," Hannah replied. "This technology doesn't follow any principles I recognize. It's as if they've discovered an entirely new branch of physics." "That's impossible," Do Hyun scoffed. They were barely achieving spaceflight when we discovered them. Perhaps that's why they succeeded, Hannah said thoughtfully. They weren't constrained by established imperial science. They looked at their world differently. On the dark side of Earth's moon, hidden beneath the surface of a crater, Captain Hyun and her team prepared for their first mission. Their ship, sleek and black, was barely visible against the lunar surface. Final checks complete, her pilot reported. Shield passage calibration at optimal levels. Captain Hyun addressed her team of 29 elite soldiers. Once we leave lunar shield coverage, we'll be on our own. Our mission is simple: infiltrate the Imperial command ship and gather intelligence on their next planned moves. Back on Earth, Coalition leadership watched as the lunar-based ship powered up. If this works, Admiral Park said quietly, we move from defense to offense. And if it doesn't, asked a Chinese general. Then we stay behind our shield and continue to improve our technology, President Lee replied. Either way, Earth remains free. In orbit, Imperial sensors detected unusual energy readings from the lunar surface but couldn't identify their source. Chief Scientist Hannah requested more detailed scans. As darkness fell over Seoul, Dr. June stood on a balcony looking up at the night sky. The Imperial ships weren't visible from Earth, but she knew they were there, floating above the shield, frustrated and angry. Her communication device chimed. Captain Hyun's voice came through, clear despite the distance. Eagle 1 has lifted off. Shield passage successful. We are proceeding to target. Dr. June smiled. The Empire had never faced a species that refused to submit. They were about to learn that humans were not just technologically resourceful, they were stubborn to their core. The counteroffensive had begun. Captain Hyun guided her sleek vessel through the shield, feeling the familiar tingle as the ship's specially designed hull passed through Earth's defensive barrier. The darkness of space enveloped them, stars shining with cold clarity. Eagle Squadron deployed, she reported back to Earth Command. Beginning operation. 4 other ships followed her through the shield at different points around the globe. Each ship carried 30 of Earth's most elite soldiers, drawn from every nation. Their mission was simple but dangerous: disrupt Imperial operations without being detected. Approaching Imperial supply station, Hyun's pilot announced. Their sensors haven't detected us. The Earthship's unique design incorporated elements of the shield technology, making it nearly invisible to Imperial scanners. They drifted silently toward the massive space station that served as a refueling depot for the Imperial blockade fleet. Team 1, prepare for boarding, Captain Han ordered. Remember, gather intelligence first, then place the disruption devices. No casualties unless absolutely necessary. Her team nodded. They wore specially designed suits that masked their life signs. Each carried small devices developed by Dr. June's team, electromagnetic disruptors that could silently disable Imperial systems. Meanwhile, the other 4 Earthships targeted different Imperial assets, communication relays, sensor arrays, and smaller supply vessels. Within hours, the carefully coordinated strikes began to affect Imperial operations. On the Imperial command ship, Fleet Commander Do Hyun received increasingly alarming reports. Supply Station 7 has gone silent, an officer reported. And we've lost contact with 3 relay satellites. Send security teams to investigate, Do Hyun ordered. We already did, sir. They found nothing, just disabled systems with no sign of how it happened. Do Hyun's face darkened. Increase security at all facilities. Double the sensor sweeps. But the attacks continued. Over the next 2 weeks, Imperial operations fell into disarray. Supply ships failed to arrive as scheduled. Communication became unreliable. Sensor networks showed mysterious gaps. On Earth, President Lee received Captain Hyun's latest report with satisfaction. The strategy is working. We're not trying to defeat them in direct combat, just make their blockade too costly to maintain. Admiral Park nodded. And we've acquired valuable intelligence. Our teams have downloaded significant data from their systems, including their FTL communication frequencies. This breakthrough had led to scientist Miho's greatest achievement, tapping into the Empire's galaxy-wide communications network. For the first time, Earth could hear the Empire's internal discussions.
"The Emperor is not pleased," Miho reported, replaying a decoded transmission. "The failure to subdue Earth is causing political problems throughout the Empire." The recordings revealed something unexpected. News of Earth's resistance had spread. On dozens of worlds under Imperial control, populations were taking notice. Small rebellions had broken out in the Centauri systems. Questions were being raised in the Imperial Senate. Earth was becoming a symbol.
On the Imperial capital world, Emperor Minsak faced unprecedented criticism.
"The Earth problem has drained 20% of our military resources," Minister Sunwoo reported.
And now we're receiving reports that the Centaurian systems are considering full rebellion, inspired by Earth's resistance.
"One primitive planet should not require such effort," Emperor Minsak growled.
"I want results, not excuses." But the Empire's efforts continued to fail.
When they adjusted their sensors to detect Earth's ships, Dr. June's team modified their technology. When they increased security around key facilities, Earth's teams found new vulnerabilities.
Then came the most surprising development of all. 3 Imperial ships broke formation and approached Earth's shield, not in attack formation, but with communication arrays active. They're requesting permission to approach under a flag of truce, the sensor operator reported to Admiral Park. It could be a trick, Park warned.
But when they opened communications, they found Commander Jiho, once an Imperial officer, leading 3 ships with over 3,000 Imperial citizens aboard.
"We seek asylum," Commander Jiho explained.
"Not all within the Empire agree with its policies of conquest. Your resistance has given voice to those who wish for a different path."
President Lee convened an emergency meeting of the Coalition Council. "If we accept these defectors, it's an escalation. The Emperor will take it as a personal insult."
"But it's also an opportunity," Dr. June countered. "These people have knowledge of Imperial systems that could be invaluable." After hours of debate, the decision was made.
A small opening was created in the shield, carefully monitored and controlled. The defector ships entered Earth's protected space.
Commander Jihu stood before the Coalition Council, his tall blue form bowing respectfully. "We wish to join your resistance," he told Earth's leaders.
And we're not the only ones. There are many throughout the Empire watching Earth with hope. Admiral Park looked at these first allies from beyond Earth with cautious optimism.
"The Empire made a critical mistake when they found us," he said quietly. "They thought they discovered a new resource. Instead," President Lee finished, "they created their worst nightmare." After 2 years of failed attempts to breach Earth's defenses, the Empire faced reality. Their military was stretched thin. Rebellions had broken out in 12 star systems. Supply lines were disrupted.
The cost of maintaining the Earth blockade had become unsustainable. Emperor Minsak finally made the unthinkable decision. "We will negotiate," he told his council.
The message reached Earth through the communication channels Earth had established with Imperial defectors. President Lee and the coalition leadership debated for 3 days before sending their response: "We accept negotiations in neutral space."
Space Station Hope was hastily constructed just outside Earth's shield.
A marvel of human engineering enhanced by knowledge gained from Imperial defectors, it hung in orbit like a shining silver lotus. On the day of the historic meeting, Emperor Minsak's personal vessel approached the station. Earth defense ships escorted it, their hulls gleaming with the same technology that powered the planetary shield. In the Grand Meeting Hall, President Lee waited with Admiral Park, Dr. June, and representatives from Earth's regions. When Emperor Minsak entered with his entourage, the tension was palpable. The Emperor stood 8 feet tall, his blue skin darkened with age and stress, ornate robes trailing behind him. "I expected primitive facilities," the Emperor said, looking around at the elegant station.
"We've learned much since we met," President Lee replied calmly.
The negotiations lasted 3 days. Imperial advisors argued, threatened, and finally bargained.
Earth's representatives remained firm on their core demand: complete independence and recognition of their shield boundary as sovereign space.
On the final day, Emperor Minsak personally addressed the gathered delegates.
The Empire formally recognizes Earth's sovereignty and independence, he declared, the words clearly painful.
Your planetary shield boundary is acknowledged as your border. No Imperial vessels will cross it without explicit permission.
Earth accepts this recognition, President Lee replied.
Our borders remain closed except for diplomatic and approved trade vessels.
The treaty was signed.
When news reached Earth, celebrations erupted globally. After 2 years of constant tension, humanity had secured its place among the stars, not as subjects, but as equals. What no one expected was what happened next.
Within months, ships from across the galaxy approached Earth's shield perimeter.
Not Imperial vessels, but ships from independent systems and worlds seeking freedom from Imperial control. They came requesting alliances, trade agreements, and most commonly, the secret of Earth's shield technology.
President Lee established a new diplomatic corps to handle the requests.
Space Station Hope became the hub of a growing network of relationships.
We cannot share the shield technology itself, Dr. June explained to the Coalition Council. It requires Earth's specific electromagnetic properties to function.
But we can offer variations of the technology for ship defenses and smaller installations.
This selective sharing of technology became Earth's greatest diplomatic tool.
Systems that allied with Earth received protective technologies that the Empire could not overcome. In exchange, Earth gained access to the wider galaxy without ever having to lower its shield.
5 years after the treaty signing, Admiral Park stood with Dr. June on the observation deck of Lunar Base Alpha.
Now gray-haired but still commanding Earth's defense forces, he watched as diplomatic vessels from 3 former Imperial territories waited for clearance to dock at Space Station Hope.
Did you ever imagine this outcome when you discovered the shield technology? He asked.
Dr. June smiled, her eyes reflecting the stars.
I just wanted to protect our home. I never imagined we'd reshape galactic politics by simply closing our door.
Below them, Earth gleamed blue and green, the shimmer of its protective shield barely visible except when light hit it at just the right angle.
The Empire is shrinking, Admiral Park noted. 6 more systems declared independence last month.
And applied for alliance with Earth, Dr. June added.
The Emperor must be furious. A young officer approached them with a tablet.
Admiral, President Lee requests your presence. The Arcturian delegation has arrived with reports of a new Imperial weapon designed to penetrate shield technology.
Admiral Park nodded. I'll be right there.
As the officer left, he turned back to Dr. June.
It never ends, does it?
That's the price of freedom, she replied.
Eternal vigilance.
They looked once more at Earth, protected behind its shield yet now connected to the galaxy in ways no one could have predicted. The planet that had seemed insignificant to the Empire had become the center of a new galactic balance of power. In the Imperial Palace, Emperor Minsock stood before a window, looking at the stars where Earth lay, invisible at this distance yet impossible to ignore. The planet that had become the Empire's greatest failure had also become its worst nightmare, a symbol that resistance was possible, that the mighty could be defied, and that barring one's gates against conquest could lead not to isolation, but to true strength.